Alright, hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a dynamic sphere animation, or that's what I called it anyway. I went ahead and put up a tutorial preview yesterday on my channel. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll provide a link down in the description. You guys can go check it out. But anyways, I had a few comments saying that I took this from grayscalegorilla.com, and I just want to clear it up and say that that is not the case at all. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get started with this tutorial. And the first thing I'm going to do here is go up to Filter and turn off the grid, because sometimes I find that a little annoying, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And I am working in Cinema 4D R14 in case any of you guys notice a difference from my previous tutorials. So not much has changed. I am using the studio version, so if you guys are not finding certain things or don't have certain things that I have, make sure you're using studio. You may have prime or broadcast, and some things are left out in those versions of cinema. So anyways, once we got our grid turned off, I'm just going to go up to the primitive objects and grab a sphere, and I'm going to change this type from standard to hemisphere. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the segments from 24 to 100, and by default we can't really see our segments, and I like to see my segments when I'm working on stuff, so I'm going to go up to display and change this to lines, and now we can see all our segments on this sphere. So what I'm going to do now is go up to MoGraph, go to Cloner, and we're going to click and drag and drop and make the sphere a child of the cloner. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on Cloner. We're going to change the count to, say, 20, and we're going to change the Y from 50 centimeters to 0, like so. And then with our cloner selected, we're going to go back up to MoGraph, go to Effector, and let's go ahead and grab a Step Effector, and we're going to go to the Parameter tab on the Step Effector. And let's go ahead and change the scale from 1 to, say, 0.25, like so. And let's go ahead and adjust the rotation, so make sure we check that on. If we go ahead and give this a quick random rotation here on the pitch, you can see now we have a shell looking thing, and it actually looks pretty bad right now. So let's go ahead and go to our render settings and add an effect and go to ambient occlusion, and this will immediately start making things look a little bit better. And because we got shadows now, this is more defined, so we can kind of see what we're doing a little bit better. So let's go ahead and animate this. So what I'm going to do is give ourselves some more frames to work with. So instead of having 90, I'm going to type in 500 down here. I'm going to drag this over, so now we got some room to play around. So I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the pitch. So Command or Control and left click on the pitch here at 0 degrees, and we're going to go to frame 100. And we're just going to give this a nice random rotation. And once we've done that, we'll make sure we keyframe that. And what we're going to do now is go back to frame 40, and we're going to go ahead and keyframe the H here, and go ahead a few frames to, say, frame 120, and we'll give this a random rotation and keyframe that. Now we'll go back to frame 60, and we'll keyframe the banking, or the B here, rotation, and we'll go to frame 140, and we'll give this a random rotation as well. So let's go ahead and play forward and see what we got. So we're just creating a simple little animation that looks really dynamic and pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is go to frame 190, and I'm going to change all these values back down to 0. And they're all going to turn yellow. So what I can do is just hold shift and select all 3 of these, and then hold command and left click, and we can keyframe all 3 of these at once. And if we play what we have, this should be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so they kind of all rotate, and then they go back to their starting position. And then let's say at frame 200, we'll make this whole thing just disappear once it stops moving. So go to Cloner, go to Basic, and we're going to animate the visible and editor and visible and renderer settings. So go ahead and turn these off, and you're going to notice the sphere is going to disappear. And we're going to keyframe both of these, and then the frame before, or actually at the beginning of the animation, we're going to turn these on, and they're going to turn yellow. So let's go ahead and keyframe that, and whenever we play this, it should go ahead and do what it's supposed to do, and then at frame 200 the sphere is going to disappear, like so. So now that we have our animation set up, basically what we can do is actually duplicate this. So if we select the cloner and the step effector, if we press Command C Command V on our keyboard, it'll duplicate that, and we can, let's go ahead and move around in our scene here, and we'll pull this up above this one, and we'll scale this one down quite a bit, and that's looking not too bad. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit more so it doesn't intersect with our first sphere. If we go ahead and play this forward, now both of these are doing a similar animation, which is kind of cool. But if we wanted to change this up, all we'd have to do is go into our step effector, go to parameter, and so all we have to do is go down to each one of these keyframes and hold Command and Shift and then left click on each one of these, and this is actually going to erase all of our keyframes for their corresponding parameters. So now we can start fresh. So if we go ahead and press play, you'll notice this one is no longer animated, and we can do something completely different here. So let's go ahead and animate the banking here, and we'll go to frame 60 and give this a nice random value, keyframe that, and then we'll go to frame 40 again, and we'll play around with the pitch, and we'll keyframe that. So I'm just kind of running through this really quickly, and then we'll go here to frame 28, and we'll keyframe the H, and then we'll go to frame 100, and we'll keyframe this, and now we've got a totally different animation for our second sphere. We can go to frame 140, put all these back down to 0, and if we just select all these by holding down Shift and clicking on each one and then Command and left click, we can keyframe those all at once. And so now we have something completely different. So I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on trying to do that correctly and make it really look good for the purpose of this tutorial, but you guys can take more time on it and make it look a lot better. But that's basically all we're going for. So at this point in time, we're pretty much ready to go ahead and set up our background and add materials to this. And actually right now I'm just going to go ahead and put all this stuff in a group to group this together. So I'm going to press Alt-G on my keyboard, and that's going to place all these objects, or these two, into a null. Just going to rename these to dynamic spheres, and now all our stuff is in here, and everything's still good. So I'm actually working on a free material pack for you guys. So I'm going to be using one of the materials that I've created, and this is this white glow material, and I'll be releasing this soon. I'm going to add quite a few more materials to this, and I'll hopefully have it out in the next I don't know, I'd say pretty soon, maybe next few days. I'm going to be working on it really hard, and it's going to be free. So I'll go ahead and put that up on my channel when it's done, and I'll let you guys download it. So I'm just going to be using this material that I've created, called it White Glow, and I'm going to change each one from the projection from UVW mapping to spherical, and we should be good to go. If you guys want to create your own material, just double click down here and create whatever you want. So we can do something random, bring the reflection down, go to texture for now, bring that down, and then make the color white, and there you go. Simple material that you can apply. So I'm just going to be using one of mine that I've created, and it already looks pretty nice with the ambient occlusion turned on. So let's go ahead and give that a quick render preview. So you guys already seen what the material looks like. It looks pretty good in my opinion. It's not too bad. And actually I'm picking up on some grain here in the shadows, and I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is go to my render settings, go to ambient occlusion. I'm going to bump up the maximum samples to say 150, and let's bring up the minimum to say like 70 or so. And that should help with the grain quite a bit. However, we are going to sacrifice some render times for that. So but that definitely looks quite a bit better. So I'm satisfied with that. That should work for this. And now we just need to set up our background. So let's go ahead and go up to the floor icon, and let's grab a background, and we're going to create a simple gradient material for this background. So double click to create a new material. Once that new material has been come up, just going to check off specular here, go to color, go to texture, go to gradient. We're going to click on the gradient box here, and we're under the shader tab, and we're just going to change the type from 2DU to 2D circular, and we're going to make this first knot here on the far left side a darker gray, like so, and then we're going to change this last knot here on the far right and make this a black color. So we have kind of a dark gray, and then it kind of fades off into the black. So we kind of have a vignette kind of look. We're just going to click and drag that material onto the background, and if we go ahead and give this a quick render preview, you'll see that. So it should look pretty nice. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. We don't even have any lights in here, and it already looks fairly decent. So go ahead and play ahead a few frames, and we'll check this out and make sure everything's looking all right. And so for something like this, you may not even need lights. I mean, it depends on what you're going for and how well you want it to look. But really, as it is, with just ambient occlusion checked on and a background, this actually doesn't look too bad. You can take this render and put it in After Effects and really make it something special. So I don't think we really need to add any lights into something like this, but what I am going to do is go to Output and make this HD. So I'm going to change my width to 1280 and change the height to 720. And since this is going to be an animation, we can go to select the frame range and make sure we select all frames, or if we have a certain amount of frames we want to render out, so say to like frame 220, we'll just change that from 500 to 220, and we should be good to go. If you guys wanted to create a light, all we'd have to do is just go up here to the default lights that Cinema 4D has, and let's say grab an area light, and we'll change the shadow from none to area, and go ahead and rotate this light a little bit, and we'll go ahead and pull this back like so. And let's make sure that's, I'm going to go into my top view and make sure that's where I want it. Pull this back some more. What I'm going to do is go into the light, go to details, and I'm change the fall off from none to inverse square clamped. And then we can adjust the radius of this by dragging this out like so. We can change the shadow. So this is going to influence the amount of grain and how the shadows look. So you can play around with these settings. If we brought the accuracy down, this would make the shadows look better. Brought the maximum samples up and brought the accuracy down, this would make your shadows look better in case you're getting some grain as well. And yeah, I'm really not going to play around with this too much because I really don't think we need a light for this. It's really not going to do much for us, but that's pretty much it. So I may just leave that light in there for the heck of it, and that looks pretty good. It's not too bad. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with this, and once you're done, I'm just going to go back into our render settings and change the format from TIFF to QuickTime Movie. You'd go ahead and name your file here, and then choose where you want to save it, and that should be good. And when you're done, you're just going to hit render, and it'll go ahead and render this out for you. And this may take a few hours to do depending on how fast your computer is, and lots of different variables, but that should be that. So that's going to do it for this tutorial, guys. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. Please leave a like if you found this helpful, and if you guys have any ideas for future tutorials or any suggestions, go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know, and I'll see what I can do. So once again, thank you for watching, and peace out.